All right, let's get right into it. We're going to look at a story that, let's be honest, many of us probably think we know inside and out. The one about Jesus and the little children. But what if I told you it's not some sweet, sentimental story for a Sunday school flannel graph? What if it's actually a radical, society-flipping challenge to everything we think we know about power, about status, and about what it really means to be great?
So, it all kicks off with this question: who is the greatest? Now, sure, Jesus' followers were the ones arguing about it back then, but come on. This is a question that echoes in our own hearts, right? We see it in our workplaces, in our social circles, everywhere. Who's got the most influence? Who's at the top of the ladder? It's a timeless human question.
And make no mistake, this wasn't just some friendly debate over coffee. This was a classic power struggle. You can just feel the pride, the ambition. They were jockeying for position, trying to figure out the pecking order in Jesus' inner circle. It's a deeply human and, yeah, a deeply flawed thing to do.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Jesus hears them bickering, but instead of launching into a big, long lecture about humility, he does something else entirely. He does something visual, something physical. He literally stages a live demonstration that's about to turn their entire worldview upside down.
He calls over a little child, and then he does the unthinkable. He takes this child and places them right in the middle of this group of grown men arguing about power. Right in the center. This little kid, this is Jesus' answer to their question.
To really get how unbelievably shocking this was, you have to understand the culture. In the first century, a child was, well, they were a nobody. They had zero legal status, zero social power, zero voice in the community. So by putting a child in the center, Jesus was literally taking the person with the lowest possible status and elevating them to the position of greatest importance. It's an absolute reversal of the social order.
And then he drops this bombshell statement to explain the action. He creates a direct, unbroken line. The way you treat the most powerless, the most voiceless person in the room, well, that's how you're actually treating him. And not just him, but God the Father who sent him. In other words, our entire attitude toward the vulnerable is a direct reflection of our attitude toward God. Wow.
And you know, this isn't just about kids. The idea of the little ones is so much bigger. It applies to anyone who is vulnerable or dependent or pushed to the margins. Think about it in our world today. Maybe it's the elderly or those with disabilities, people in foster care, or families struggling in poverty. How we treat them is how we treat Jesus.
But Jesus doesn't stop there, not even close. After completely redefining greatness, he delivers this incredibly stark and serious warning. The whole tone shifts from a lesson on humility to, frankly, a declaration of divine justice. He looks right at his followers, the very people who are supposed to be building this new kind of community, and he lays out in no uncertain terms the consequences for anyone who would dare to harm one of these little ones. Whoa. I mean, that is intense. And this isn't just poetic exaggeration. A millstone was a massive, heavy stone used to grind grain, something a person could never lift. Jesus is saying it would be preferable to suffer a horrific, violent death than to face God's judgment for harming a vulnerable person. The stakes could not be higher.
So the takeaway here is crystal clear. For anyone who claims to follow Jesus, protecting the vulnerable, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's not a suggestion box item. It's not a nice idea for a committee to discuss. It's a core, non-negotiable command.
You would think after a warning like that, the message would sink in, right? Well, nope. A short time later, we see the disciples making the exact same mistake all over again. It just goes to show how deeply ingrained the world's ideas about power really are. So some parents start bringing their kids to Jesus just to get a blessing. And what do the disciples do? They try to stop them. They act like bouncers at a club, keeping the unimportant people away from the VIP. And Jesus' reaction is visceral. The text says he was indignant. This is a strong word. He was genuinely angry at his own crew for blocking the very people he just said are at the center of his kingdom.
This moment just lays it all out there, these two completely opposing mindsets. On one side, you have the disciples' way of thinking. Children are an interruption. Our job is to protect the important, powerful guy, so we have to be gatekeepers. But then you have the kingdom mindset, which flips that completely on its head. No, children are the ministry. The top priority is to welcome the vulnerable, to act with grace.
And then he gives this direct command. It's not just a gentle invitation, it's a firm rebuke to the gatekeepers. He's making a profound declaration. The kingdom of God actually belongs to people like this. Its primary citizens, its truest members, are those who are humble, dependent, and trusting, just like a child.
And this, right here, this leads us to the final and most profound reversal of them all. Jesus says the key to the kingdom isn't just in how we treat children. The real key is in becoming like a child ourselves.
So what on earth does that mean? Well, it's not about being childish or naive. It's about a posture. It's a posture of total dependence on God, not our own abilities. It's about unreserved trust, actually believing He's good. It means approaching Him with humility, recognizing that our list of accomplishments means nothing. And it's about choosing wonder over a jaded, seen-it-all cynicism. To put it another way, we can't earn our way or impress our way into God's kingdom. You don't show up with your credentials and your resume and expect the doors to open. You get in the same way a child gets into their parents' arms, by simply admitting you need them and trusting that they'll hold you. It's all about need and trust. And once again, just as He started, Jesus models exactly what He teaches. He doesn't just say, "Let them come to me." He physically reaches out, pulls them close, takes them in His arms, gives them His full, undivided attention, and speaks a blessing over them. He shows them their value through His actions.
So, this leaves us with a really clear mandate, a game plan for today. First, we have to value children, see them as central to what we're doing, not as interruptions. Second, we have to protect them, speak up, create safe places. Third, we need to prioritize them with our very best time and resources. Fourth, we are called to become like them in our own faith, humble, dependent, trusting. And finally, we have to bless them, intentionally speaking life and encouragement over the next generation, just like Jesus did.
It all comes back to this one simple, world-altering idea. The huge, abstract concept of loving and serving God becomes incredibly concrete and tangible in the way we treat the most vulnerable person standing right in front of us. When you filter your life, your decisions, your schedule through this teaching, it all really boils down to one very personal and pretty challenging final question. Just look at how you treat the little ones in your life, in your family, in your community, in our world. Because according to Jesus, that's your answer.